All right, we got another developer update, and I'll be honest, the title's not really clickbait. They're doing a lot of things that take us a step backwards towards Overwatch 1, which is interesting to say the least. Now, to start with the shop, there's the new Pinocchio bundle, by the way. It actually looks kind of cool. It's pretty creative and does transform Zenyatta like crazy. That collab is quite interesting. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, the developer update, let's get into it. Now, I apologize for the bronze gameplay in the background. I was thrown into a game. I haven't been playing too much Overwatch recently, but I am still interested in the direction that this game is gonna go, and I'm not too sure about this direction. But anyways, director's take. As season 4 ends, I'd like to look at the game's balance. This season we saw a wide selection of heroes get played, and for the most part the game felt fairly balanced. From a win rate perspective, season 3 and 4 were some of the most balanced in recent Overwatch history. With this in mind, let's look at 3 different topics from season 4 and talk about how they will change in season 5 and beyond. Specifically, I'd like to go over heroes like Jungle Queen and Lifeweaver, one-shots, and crowd control abilities in 5v5. There were a few standouts from a tuning perspective in season 4. In the mid-season patch, Jungle Queen was given a series of buffs, and she really started to dominate. Her win rate popped up by about 5%, and she went from being one of the lowest picked tanks to one of the highest. For most skill tiers, Queen and Reinhardt were the 2 most picked tanks for the latter of the half of the season. However, at Masters and above, Queen is far and away the most picked tank. One of the big changes that we made was to increase the healing received from her passive. We like this addition to her playstyle, but it makes Queen too survivable, so we'll be reducing the health she receives from Commanding Shout from 200 to 150 to compensate. We'll also be increasing the cost of her ult by a small amount since she's getting it at a faster rate than before the mid-season changes. Lifeweaver is a really dynamic hero. Some of the plays that people have pulled off with him during season 4 were pretty astonishing. However, he's not powerful enough to be a solid pick for most players. Previously, we stated that we would like there to be a reason to pick new heroes over the other roster. This is still our goal for new heroes. We want them to bring something new to the table. However, at the moment, we are looking for the best way to bring Lifeweaver to the baseline. Once people are playing him more, we will get a clearer read on the character. Players will either start utilizing the varied parts of his kit, or we can look into adding something else into it. In season 5, there will be quite a few changes, mostly buffs, coming to Lifeweaver. We'll have specific details in the patch notes, but players can expect increases to his healing and damage output, a heal on life grip, a slightly reduced hitbox, and some quality of life changes to Petal platform. We'll continue to monitor both Jungle Queen and Lifeweaver and make additional changes if necessary. So this one's pretty interesting. They want to add a increase the healing and damage output, and then also make it so there's a heal on life grip. So when you're getting saved, you also get healed halfway. As long as that's not the only way to heal, it's not terrible. I mean, that whole mechanic's still a little bit gimmicky and hit or miss, but I don't know. We're going to have to let it cook. We're going to have to see the patch note. I can't say too much without real details, or else I'll be talking into the wind a little bit here. Moving on. The community has also voiced concerns over the number of one-shots from both Widowmaker and Hanzo. We'd like to reduce the frequency of these in-game, as well as shore up some of the extreme sight lines in some of our maps. Widow's damage fall off will change from 70 to 100 meters to 40 and 60 meters. The damage fall off scaler will also increase from 30 to 50%. She will still have the ability to one-shot over 200 health heroes at 50 meters or less, but farther than that, it will no longer be a killing blow. Whoa. Hanzo will receive a slight nerf to his damage so that he is no longer able to one-shot 250 health heroes. His sonic arrow will also be more recognizable by the enemy team. The intent here is to reduce his kills that feel like they come out of nowhere. We are constantly discussing the nature of the one-shots in Overwatch 2 and whether they are healthy for the game in general. Wow. Okay, so, I used to play a lot of Hanzo and Widowmaker. Luckily, I don't anymore because that is brutal. That takes a lot of the satisfaction and impact that these two heroes have, and they are treading on some pretty thin ice. Now, for the most part, if, we don't play these people, right? Like, I don't play Widowmaker or Hanzo. It can be interesting, and believe it or not, in the game you're actually watching, they both had a Hanzo and a Widowmaker, and the Hanzo was decent for my skill. Okay, I'm bad at the game, but still, when he lands those one-shots, it can be a little bit polarizing, right? And for me, as a 200 health hero here in this exact game as Genji, it's okay. But I can see with some other heroes it being a little bit too much. And to be honest, this is where I want your opinion. What do you think about one-shots down below? Lastly, I'd like to talk a bit about crowd control abilities in game. When we launched Overwatch 2, we made some significant changes to our combat model. The biggest was the shift from 6v6 to 5v5. A part of that change was to remove most of the crowd control abilities from our damage and support heroes. Overall, we think that this was a positive change to the game. At times, the original game felt like you were in a pinball machine, but we have also a lot of high mobility heroes in the roster, and a team can't always rely on their tanks to take them. So we're softening our approach here. We don't want to return to the state of the game that it was previously, but we feel like there is room for more CC, especially soft CC in our lineup. We'll be making changes to both Mei and Cassidy for Season 5 with this in mind. Mei's Endothermic Blaster, which is the primary fire, will be updated. The primary fire will still slow targets, but will also build up to an effect that will apply a much larger slow for 1.5 seconds. For players of the original game, this will feel familiar to the way her old weapon worked. Cassidy's Magnetic Grenade will also get updated to do less damage, as well as applying an effect that slows and blocks movement abilities. On top of these changes, we'll also be making some tweaks to several other heroes in Season 5. We can't wait for you to see them when the patch notes go live, as well as other fun things that we have coming to the game that season. As always, thanks for reading, and I'll see you in game. Alright, so there's quite a lot to unpack here. I'm probably not going to dive overly deep into it. I think some of the biggest things, and why I was even reading a lot of jokes about Blizzard slowly going back to Overwatch 1, is because them bringing in soft CC is quite risky, and I don't know how many people have been complaining about it. Unless I've lost my mind. Like I said, I haven't been playing too much Overwatch. Ranked's not really worth it. I play once in a while, and I've been keeping a close eye mainly on the news and the direction that Blizzard is going to take. And I definitely read and listen to a lot of the community's thoughts, right? I listen to, let's say, when Flats reacts to something, if I get a chance to, that is, I like to see and hear what they're thinking. And I don't exactly think CC was one of the big problems here, and I think adding it back is a little bit weak. So let me explain why. So think of it this way. Cassidy's going to throw out that Magnet Grenade. It's still going to be BS and cheesy, because the biggest problem about it is that it literally curves and sticks to you. It's too easy to hit. It won't one-shot you all the time, depending on how much they reduce the damage. Fine. So let's say it does a decent amount of damage, but if it's going to slow you significantly, he's still going to be able to follow it up with a shot. And being slowed can be extremely frustrating. And Cassidy seems like a minor case here. Their thought process is, instead of being one-shot burst, he'll have to follow it up with maybe a second shot, which takes a little bit more skill. Okay, maybe not a terrible change, but then changing Mei to slow way more significantly, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. Let me know what you think down below.